I used to think I knew my wife better than anyone in the world. 6 years of marriage, 8 years together total, you'd think that's enough time to truly know someone. I was wrong. My name is Alex Cooper. I'm 30 years old, a financial analyst at McKinsey & Associates, one of those reliable guys who plans retirement accounts at 25 and reads market reports over morning coffee. I'm the type who color codes spreadsheets and actually enjoys tax season. Stable, predictable, safe. I met Nicole during our sophomore year at State University. She was everything I wasn't, spontaneous, ambitious, the kind of person who talked about conquering the corporate world, while other students were just trying to pass Economics 101. She was studying marketing and business, already networking with professors, and plotting her rise to executive status. That hunger attracted me. While other girls talked about finding themselves, Nicole talked about building empires. We got married when I was 24 and she was 23. I'd been saving aggressively since my first job, living in a studio apartment and driving a used Honda, squirreling away every penny for our future. The townhouse came first, a modest 3-bedroom in Maple Heights, nothing fancy but mine. My down payment, my credit score, my name on the deed. Nicole contributed to utilities and groceries, but the house was always mine. At the time, it felt romantic, traditional, the man providing stability for his wife. I never thought ownership would matter. Now it matters more than anything. Nicole works as a marketing manager at TechVision Solutions, a mid-sized tech company downtown with glass offices and motivational posters about synergy and disruption. She's ambitious, always chasing the next promotion, the next big account, the next career milestone that'll prove she's more than just another pretty face in a conference room. I used to admire that drive. It matched my own obsession with financial security, with building something lasting. But over the past 6 months, something shifted in our marriage like tectonic plates moving beneath the surface. The overtime started gradually. An extra hour here, a late meeting there, until suddenly Nicole was leaving at 7 in the morning and returning at 10 at night, exhausted and distant. She'd drag herself through the front door, kick off her heels, and collapse on the couch without even looking at me. "Rough day?" I'd ask. "The worst," she'd mutter, already scrolling through her phone. "Wilson account is killing me. This promotion is going to destroy my sanity. The work trips multiplied like cancer cells. Dallas for 3 days, Atlanta for a weekend, San Francisco for a week. Always last minute, always critical, always about some client who needed her expertise immediately. She'd pack in a rush, kissing me goodbye with distracted lips while texting someone during the Uber ride to the airport. But it was the small things that made my chest tighten with suspicion. Nicole started smelling different when she came home, not her usual vanilla perfume, but something masculine and woody that clung to her clothes like evidence. Her phone became a forbidden territory, always face down on the dinner table, protected by a new passcode I didn't know. The woman who used to share every meaningless text conversation now guarded her device like classified information. One night I woke at 2 in the morning to find our bed empty. I discovered her in the bathroom, door closed, whispering into her phone in the tone she used to reserve for me. Intimate, affectionate, conspiratorial. Who was that? I asked when she slipped back under the covers. "Work stuff," she replied without hesitation. "Crisis with the Wilson presentation. Sorry if I woke you," but her voice carried guilt like perfume, obvious and cloying. The doubt started small, a nagging whisper during board meetings and quarterly reviews. But it grew like a tumor, consuming my thoughts during dinner conversations, during the nights when she'd roll away from me in bed, during the mornings when she'd shower immediately after coming home from her business trips. I wanted to believe her explanations. I wanted to trust that her dedication was really about our future, about building the life we'd planned together. Kids by 35, a bigger house by 40, retirement in some coastal town where we'd grow old together. But my analyst brain kept running the numbers, and they didn't add up. The Wilson account was worth maybe $50,000 in commission. Nicole was acting like it was worth millions. Her company didn't typically require this much travel for local clients. And since when did marketing presentations happen at midnight? Deep down in that place where spreadsheets can't hide the truth, I knew something was catastrophically wrong when she told me about the Chicago trip 5 days. The Wilson account, her big career breakthrough, I smiled and congratulated her, playing the supportive husband while my insides turned to ice. This could make me the youngest senior marketing director in TechVision's history, she said, packing that new black dress I'd never seen before. Derek says if I nail this presentation, the promotion is basically guaranteed. Derek. She'd mentioned that name more frequently lately. Derek this, Derek that, Derek's brilliant marketing strategy. Derek Walsh, VP of Sales, the golden boy who'd supposedly taken Nicole under his wing. I helped her pack, watching her include expensive lingerie still tagged from the store, perfume she'd never worn around me, outfits designed to impress someone who wasn't her husband. "You're bringing a lot for a work trip," I commented casually. She laughed without looking at me. "First impressions matter in business, Alex. You know that." "Right. Business," I replied flatly. That night, while Nicole slept peacefully beside me, probably dreaming about Derek Walsh, I made a decision that would change both our lives forever. I opened my laptop, typed "private investigator near me" into Google, and made the call that would either destroy my marriage or confirm it was already dead. The weight of my decision pressed down on me like concrete as I sat in my car outside Joe's Coffee the next morning, phone in my trembling hand. Part of me felt like those paranoid husbands you see in movies, jealous, controlling, pathetic. But the analyst in me, the part that reviewed financial statements for inconsistencies, knew the data didn't lie. Nicole's patterns had changed. Her behavior didn't match her explanations. The numbers, late nights, sudden trips, emotional distance, painted a picture I didn't want to see but couldn't ignore. Raymond Cross Investigations had 5 stars on Google and a website that screamed discretion and professionalism. The testimonials read like war stories from the trenches of modern marriage. Raymond saved my sanity and my assets. Professional, thorough, and worth every penny. The truth set me free. When Raymond answered on the second ring, his voice was calm and measured like a therapist or a very good accountant. "This is Raymond Cross. How can I help you?" he asked. "I think my wife is cheating on me," I said, the words feeling foreign and bitter in my mouth. "I need to know for sure. No judgment. No platitudes. Just business, I understand. Can you tell me what's led you to this suspicion?" he inquired. I recited the evidence like a case study. The overtime that didn't match her paycheck. The business trips that seemed more frequent than necessary. The emotional distance, the new passwords, the 2 a.m. phone calls. Raymond listened without interrupting, occasionally making notes I could hear scratching across paper. "How long have these changes been occurring?" he asked. 6 months, maybe more," I answered. "And she has a trip planned?" "Chicago, 5 days. Leaves tomorrow morning," I replied. "Perfect timing for surveillance. Chicago's expensive for extended monitoring, but it's where we'll get the clearest picture of her activities. If there's another party involved, a 5-day trip will reveal it," he explained. The cost was $3,500. I'd spent more on our honeymoon, more on Nicole's engagement ring, more on the couch she'd picked out for the living room. For the price of truth, it felt like a bargain. "I need to know," I told him. "Even if it destroys me, I need to know." Raymond's response was measured, professional, and somehow comforting. "Most of my clients say that, Mr. Cooper, and you're right. The truth does destroy things, but it also sets you free to rebuild something better." We spent the next 20 minutes arranging logistics. I would provide Nicole's flight details, hotel information, and itinerary, all information she'd shared freely, believing she had nothing to hide. Raymond would have an operative stationed at O'Hare Airport when she landed, following her throughout the trip with professional invisibility. "Full photographic and video documentation," Raymond explained. "Time-stamped, date-stamped with detailed written reports. If she's engaging in extramarital activity, we'll document it thoroughly. If she's genuinely focused on business, you'll have peace of mind and can work on rebuilding trust." After I hung up, I sat in my car for 10 minutes, hands gripping the steering wheel. Breathing slowly like I'd learned in that meditation app Nicole had convinced me to try. The die was cast. In 24 hours, I'd either be proven wrong, paranoid, insecure, destroying my marriage with unfounded suspicion. Or I'd have evidence that the woman I'd loved for 8 years had been systematically betraying me. The next 3 days passed like psychological torture. I went through the motions of normal life, work meetings, conference calls, reviewing portfolios, making dinner reservations for the following week that I probably wouldn't keep. But underneath the routine, I carried the secret of what I'd set in motion like a bomb in my chest, ticking down to detonation. Nicole seemed unusually excited about the Chicago trip, more animated than she'd been in months. She talked constantly about the Wilson account, about how landing it would fast-track her promotion, about the presentation she'd been perfecting for weeks. "Derek thinks this could be a game-changer for my career," she said over dinner Tuesday night, twirling pasta around her fork without really eating. "He's been mentoring me through the whole process." "I'm so lucky to have someone like him in my corner." Derek again. "Always Derek. He sounds like a good mentor," I managed to reply. "The best. He really gets the vision for where Tech Vision is headed. Plus, he's got connections throughout the industry. Having someone like that believe in you." She trailed off, smiling at something I wasn't part of. I watched her pack Wednesday evening, each item she folded into her suitcase feeling like another knife in my chest. The black dress that hugged her curves in ways designed to attract attention. The expensive lingerie still tagged from Victoria's Secret lace and silk in colors she'd never worn for me. The perfume I'd never smelled on her skin during our intimate moments. "You're bringing a lot for a work trip," I commented, keeping my voice casual. She didn't even look up from her packing. "Presentations on Friday, but there are dinners, networking events, morning meetings. I want to look professional, put together. You know how important first impressions are?" "Absolutely." "Professional," I responded. Her phone buzzed constantly throughout the evening, texts that made her smile, calls she took in the other room, notifications that pulled her attention away from our conversation mid-sentence. Each buzz felt like evidence, like confirmation of what I suspected but didn't want to believe. Thursday morning arrived gray and cold, matching my mood perfectly. I drove Nicole to the airport at 6 a.m., the sunrise casting orange light across her face as she checked her phone obsessively during the drive. She seemed nervous, excited, distracted, like someone heading towards something she'd been anticipating for weeks. At the terminal drop-off, she kissed me goodbye with lips that felt like obligation rather than affection. "I love you," she said, already pulling away, already reaching for her phone. "Love you too," I replied, watching her disappear through the sliding glass doors with her rolling suitcase and secrets. I sat in my car for 10 minutes after she left, hands gripping the steering wheel, watching planes take off through the morning haze. Then I called Raymond. "She's in the terminal. Flight 847 to O'Hare, departing at 7:30, I reported. "We're already in position," Raymond confirmed. "My operative has visual contact. I'll send regular updates as events develop." I drove home through rush hour traffic, NPR playing something about market volatility that felt impossibly irrelevant. Back at the house, my house, I made coffee, opened my laptop, and tried to focus on quarterly reports while my marriage either validated my paranoia or confirmed my worst fears 400 miles away. My phone buzzed at 9:47 a.m. with Raymond's first update. Subject landed in Chicago, proceeding to baggage claim. Surveillance active. The investigation had begun, and there was no turning back. I spent that entire Thursday at my desk, unable to focus on spreadsheets or market analyses, my phone positioned face up like a talisman, waiting for updates that would either destroy my world or restore it. The first few messages from Raymond were routine, almost boring in their mundane detail. 10:23 a.m. Subject collected baggage, proceeded to hotel shuttle. No contact with other parties observed. a.m. Subject checked into Marriott downtown, room 1847. Proceeded directly to room with luggage. 15 p.m. Subject departed hotel, walking to Tech Vision Chicago offices 3 blocks away. Standard business attire, carrying presentation materials. For a few hours, I allowed myself to hope. Maybe I was wrong. Maybe Nicole really was in Chicago for legitimate business. networking and presenting and climbing corporate ladders with nothing more scandalous than ambitious professionalism. Then came the message that changed everything. 4 p.m. Subject returned to hotel with male companion. Proceeding to bar area. Sending photos now. My hands were shaking so badly I almost dropped the phone. The message sat there, innocuous text on a bright screen, with an attachment icon that felt like Pandora's box. I knew that once I opened those photos, there would be no returning to ignorance, no comfortable delusion that maybe I was wrong. I clicked the attachment. The first image showed Nicole at the hotel bar, sitting closer than necessary to a man I didn't recognize, tall, probably mid-40s, expensive suit, confident posture of someone accustomed to getting what he wanted. Nicole's body language screamed intimacy, leaning in, hand resting on his forearm. Wearing that smile she used to give me when we were dating, when I could make her laugh until her cheeks hurt. The second photo was closer, clearer, more devastating. Their hands intertwined on the bar top, her head tilted toward his shoulder. Their faces inches apart in the unmistakable geometry of people who'd moved far beyond professional colleague territory. Raymond's follow-up text made my chest physically ache. Subject and male companion identified as Derek Walsh, VP of Sales at TechVision Solutions. Body language suggests established relationship, not first meeting. Continuing surveillance, Derek Walsh. Her mentor, her champion, her married superior with 2 kids and a wife who probably trusted him the way I'd trusted Nicole. I ran a quick LinkedIn search with trembling fingers. Derek Walsh, VP of Sales, TechVision Solutions. Married 15 years, father to Emma, 9, and Jake, 6. His profile picture showed him with his arm around a blonde woman, presumably his wife, both of them smiling, at some company picnic or family vacation. Another betrayed spouse who didn't know yet that their world was crumbling. Over the next 2 hours, Raymond's updates arrived like blows to the solar plexus. 23 p.m. Subjects departed bar area together, heading toward elevators. Following at distance. 31 p.m. Subjects entered room 1847 together. Subjects registered room. Attempting closer surveillance. 45 p.m. Obtained visual through partially open curtains. Documenting activity. I paced my living room like a caged animal, unable to sit, unable to think about anything except what was happening in that hotel room 400 miles away. My wife, the woman who'd promised forever, who wore my ring, who'd slept in my bed 24 hours ago, was in a room with another man. At 8:15 p.m., my phone buzzed with a photo that made my blood turn to ice water. Through the hotel room window, curtains carelessly left partially open, Nicole and Derek were clearly visible, kissing. His hands in her hair, her dress partially unzipped, his shirt unbuttoned. The image was professionally shot but devastating in its clarity, undeniable evidence that would hold up in any court, destroy any alibi, end any marriage. More photos followed over the next 20 minutes, each one a fresh knife twist. Nicole's dress on the floor, Derek's clothes scattered across a chair. The two of them in bed, her laughing at something he'd said, her hand on his bare chest, the casual intimacy of people who'd done this before, who were comfortable with each other's bodies, who had routines and inside jokes and shared secrets. The final message from Raymond at 8:47 p.m. was a professional summary that read like a coroner's report on my marriage. Obtained 5 minutes of video footage showing clear sexual activity. Also confirmed identity. Derek Walsh, married, 2 children ages 6 and 9. Based on comfort level and body language, this appears to be an ongoing affair, not first encounter. Conservative estimate, relationship has been active for 3-4 months minimum. Full detailed report will include timestamps, video files, and witness statement. Recommend consulting legal counsel immediately. I sat on my couch in the dark house that was mine, phone in my lap, feeling something inside me break and then reshape into something harder, colder, more dangerous. The hurt was there, a raw, gaping wound in my chest that felt like actual physical damage. But beneath the pain rose something else. Clarity. Cold, analytical, ruthless clarity. Nicole had made her choice. She'd chosen Derek Walsh, chosen to betray 6 years of marriage, chosen to destroy the life we'd built together while claiming it was all for us, all for her career, all for our future. Now I would make my choices. I opened my laptop and began researching divorce attorneys, specifically ones with reputations for aggressive representation in infidelity cases. I found Patricia Vance, a lawyer whose website testimonials read like dispatches from scorched earth divorce battles. Her bio was intimidating. "I don't just win cases, I ensure justice. Adultery has consequences, and I make sure those consequences are permanent." At 10:32 p.m., I sent an inquiry email to Patricia's firm, attaching Raymond's preliminary report with its devastating photos and clinical documentation. I slept in the guest room that night. The bed I'd shared with Nicole suddenly felt contaminated, a place of lies and deception I could no longer occupy. The sheets still smelled like her perfume, the vanilla one she wore at home, not the mysterious scent she'd been bringing back from her business trips. By Friday morning, Patricia Vance had responded with the efficiency of a woman who'd seen every betrayal imaginable. "I've reviewed your evidence. This is an exceptionally strong case for infidelity with photographic documentation. I can see you Monday at 9 a.m. Bring everything: financial records, property documents, marriage certificate, evidence files. We're going to destroy her." Nicole called me Friday morning from Chicago, her voice bright and cheerful, asking about my weekend plans like she was calling from a spa vacation instead of the scene of my personal apocalypse. "How's the presentation prep going?" I asked, my voice surprisingly steady. "Incredible! Derek's been so helpful. We worked late into the night perfecting the strategy. I think we've really got something special here," she replied enthusiastically. I could hear Derek's voice in the background, muffled but distinct, probably ordering room service or asking about her plans for the day. She was lying in bed with him while talking to me, discussing their work while his scent was probably still on her skin. "That's wonderful, honey. I miss you," I responded. "Miss you too." "Can't wait to come home and tell you all about it," she answered cheerfully. "I can't wait either." "I love you, Nicole." "Love you too, Alex," she replied. And I meant it as goodbye, because the woman I'd loved for 8 years was already gone, replaced by someone who could lie with such casual cruelty while planning her career advancement in another man's bed. Monday morning couldn't come fast enough. Monday morning, I sat across from Patricia Vance in her downtown office, 30 floors up, floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city, steel and glass that reflected the cold efficiency I'd need for what came next. Patricia was 50-something, sharply dressed in a way that communicated competence and ruthlessness, with calculating eyes that had seen every betrayal imaginable and learned how to weaponize them in court. She reviewed Raymond's complete report methodically. 47 photographs, 12 minutes of video footage, detailed timestamps, witness statements, Derek Walsh's full identity and marital status. Her expression never changed as she examined each piece of evidence, but I caught approval in the way she handled the documents, carefully, professionally, like ammunition being loaded into precisely calibrated weapons. "This is among the cleanest infidelity cases I've seen in 15 years, Patricia said, setting down the final page. "You have photographic evidence, video documentation, professional surveillance records, and the affair occurred during a company-sponsored business trip with a direct superior. That last detail is crucial. It's not just adultery, it's a workplace ethics violation with potential legal ramifications." "What does that mean for me?" I asked. "It means you keep everything. The house, which is solely in your name, remains yours. Your savings, investments, retirement accounts, all protected under state infidelity statutes. She gets nothing except what the judge deems a minimal settlement to avoid claims of punitive damages. We're talking maybe $500 if that," she explained. "And her career?" I inquired. Patricia leaned back, steepling her fingers like a chess master contemplating checkmate. "That's where this gets interesting. TechVision Solutions has a strict code of conduct policy regarding relationships between employees, especially when one party is in a supervisory role. Derek Walsh is a VP, your wife is a manager reporting to his division. That's a clear violation with potential sexual harassment liability for the company. So if someone were to report this," I suggested, "if someone, say, A concerned party with documented evidence were to forward this information to their HR department. Both parties would likely face immediate termination. Companies don't play games when faced with potential lawsuits and ethics violations, she confirmed. I felt cold satisfaction settling in my chest like winter air. How quickly can you file the divorce papers? I can file today. Service can happen as early as Wednesday, the day she returns from Chicago, she answered. Perfect. I want her served at home. At our front door, I stated. Patricia's smile was thin and predatory. Poetic justice. I like your style. We spent the next hour crafting the divorce petition with the precision of surgeons, documenting every asset, every account, every piece of property. My financial analyst background made the process efficient. I had spreadsheets prepared, documentation organized, everything categorized and ready for legal consumption. Before leaving Patricia's office, I made one final decision that felt like lighting a fuse. Send copies of the investigator's report to TechVision's HR department. Anonymous tip about workplace ethics violations. Consider it done. They'll receive it this afternoon, she confirmed. My next stop was Cole Bennett's locksmith shop. Cole had been my friend since college, the guy who'd helped me move furniture into the townhouse, who'd stood up at our wedding, who'd always said Nicole was lucky to have found someone like me. I need you to change all my locks, I told him without preamble. Tuesday night, while Nicole's still out of town, Cole's expression darkened with understanding. She cheated, didn't she? I just nodded, not trusting my voice. Say no more, brother. I'll have new locks installed by Wednesday morning. She won't get in with her old keys, that's for damn sure, he replied. Thanks, Cole. You're going to be okay, Alex. You're one of the good ones. She's going to regret this for the rest of her life, he assured me. Tuesday passed in a blur of deliberate normalcy. I attended meetings, reviewed quarterly reports, analyzed market trends, maintained perfect professional composure while orchestrating the systematic destruction of my wife's life. My colleagues noticed nothing unusual. I'd always been good at compartmentalizing, at keeping personal chaos from affecting professional performance. That evening, Cole arrived with new locks, new keys, new deadbolts, new security for a new life. Within 2 hours, every entrance to my townhouse, because it was my townhouse, legally and morally, was secured against Nicole's return. I methodically packed Nicole's belongings, clothes that had touched Derek Walsh's hands, toiletries that had prepared her for another man's bed, the expensive lingerie she'd bought for someone else's pleasure. Everything fit in 2 large trash bags. I set them by the front door like garbage waiting for collection. Wednesday arrived with crystalline clarity. Nicole's flight was scheduled to land at 6:15 p.m. She'd texted me that morning, "Can't wait to see you. Have so much to tell you about the trip." I read her message and felt nothing but contempt for the performance, the casual cruelty of someone who believed she'd gotten away with destroying her marriage. At 7:30 p.m., I received confirmation from Patricia. Process server is in position at your address. The moment she arrives, she's served. I sat in my living room with the lights off, curtains closed, waiting. My phone was on silent. My heart was calm. Everything was in motion now, precise and irreversible as a chemical reaction. At 7:52 p.m., I heard a car pull up outside. Footsteps on the walkway. The familiar sound of Nicole's key sliding into the lock. The confused jiggling when the key didn't work. The frustrated rattle of the door handle. Then voices. Nicole's confused tone. The process server's professional announcement. Nicole Cooper, you're being served with divorce papers. Please take these documents. I stood, walked to the door, and opened it. Nicole stood on my front step. Divorce papers trembling in her hands, face white with shock, mouth opening and closing without sound like a fish pulled from water. Your stuff is here, I said calmly, nudging the trash bags toward her with my foot. I know about Derek Walsh. I know about Chicago. I have photos, videos, everything. The look on her face, pure terror mixed with disbelief, almost made me feel something. Almost. But then I remembered the photos of her laughing in Derek's arms, her hand on his bare chest, the casual intimacy they'd shared while I sat alone in our house, worrying about our marriage. You're going to get a call from HR tomorrow, I told her. I sent them everything. That's when she started to scream. Nicole collapsed to her knees on the front step like her strings had been cut, divorce papers scattered around her like confetti at a funeral, her voice breaking into incoherent sobs that sounded more like animal sounds than human grief. "Alex, please, I can explain. It was a mistake. I'll quit my job. I'll do anything. Please don't do this," she pleaded between sobs. "You'll do nothing," I said, my voice flat and emotionless as winter stone. "You made your choices in Chicago. Multiple times, apparently, based on how comfortable you look together. Now you live with them." "It didn't mean anything. Derek and I, it just happened. The stress of the account," she tried to explain. "Derek Walsh, VP of Sales, married 15 years, 2 kids, Emma and Jake, ages 9 and 6. You didn't just cheat on me, Nicole. You helped him cheat on his family," I replied coldly. I leaned against the door frame, arms crossed, watching her crumble. "How long has this been going on? 4 months? 6? Nicole's silence was answer enough, confession in the space between her sobs. "The private investigator thinks at least 3 months, based on how comfortable you two look together. All those business trips, Dallas, Atlanta, San Francisco, those weren't about work, were they? Those were about Derek Walsh in hotel rooms across the country," I stated bluntly. "Alex, I love you," she whimpered. "No," the word came out like a slap. "You love what I provided. Stability, a house you didn't pay for, the safety of a backup plan while you screwed your way up the corporate ladder. But here's what you didn't count on. I'm a financial analyst. I plan for contingencies. I document everything. And I don't lose." Nicole's phone buzzed in her purse like an alarm clock. She ignored it. It buzzed again, insistent. "You should answer that," I said conversationally. "I think it's important." With shaking hands, Nicole pulled out her phone. The caller ID read, "TechVision HR Department," her face drained of whatever color remained, leaving her looking corpse pale in the porch light. "They know," I said simply. "I sent them the evidence this morning. Photos, videos, Raymond's full report. You violated company policy. Relationship with a superior. Misconduct during a business trip. Potential sexual harassment liability. They're calling to fire you. And Derek, no, please, this will destroy my career," she gasped. "Your career was built on sleeping with your boss. It was already destroyed." "I just documented it," I replied. Nicole let the call go to voicemail. Immediately, a text appeared on her screen. "Nicole, this is Brenda Lawson from HR. You need to come to the office immediately tomorrow morning, 8 a.m. sharp, conference room B. Do not report to your regular desk. Do not speak to other employees. This is urgent." I watched her read it, watched the last pillar of her carefully constructed life crumble into dust. "My lawyer filed for divorce Monday," I continued with the methodical precision of a surgeon. "You're holding the papers. The evidence is overwhelming. Adultery with photographic proof that would hold up in any court. You get nothing in the settlement. The house is mine, my down payment, my name on the deed, my equity. Savings, retirement, investments, all protected under state infidelity statutes. Patricia Vance is representing me, and she doesn't lose cases like this. Where am I supposed to go? What am I supposed to do?" she asked desperately. "Not my problem anymore," I answered coldly. Nicole tried one last desperate approach, reaching for my hand with fingers that trembled like autumn leaves. "We can go to counseling. We can fix this. I'll do anything. I love you." I stepped back, disgusted by her touch, revolted by the hands that had been all over Derek Walsh 48 hours ago. "Don't touch me. You lost that right when you let Derek Walsh touch you in that hotel room." I picked up her trash bags and tossed them down the front steps. Clothes spilled across the walkway, the black dress she'd worn to seduce him, the lingerie she'd bought for his pleasure, the professional attire of a career that was about to end in humiliation. "If you contest the divorce, I'll make the evidence public," I said, each word deliberate and final. "Every photo, every video, your family, my family, everyone we know, they'll see exactly what kind of person you really are. Your parents, your sister, your college friends. They'll all know their golden girl is nothing but a cheating whore who destroyed her marriage for a promotion." Nicole's sobs had gone silent now. replaced by the hollow stare of someone whose entire world had just imploded in the span of 10 minutes. Or you can sign the papers quietly. Take your minimal settlement and disappear, I continued. Your choice. But either way, we're done. This marriage is over. You killed it in Chicago. I stepped back inside my house, my sanctuary, my investment, my future, and closed the door. The new deadbolt slid into place with a final, decisive click that sounded like a coffin closing. Inside, I leaned against the door, eyes closed, breathing slowly and deeply. I could hear Nicole crying on my doorstep, could hear her making phone calls, probably to Derek, probably begging him to fix this somehow. But there was no fixing this. I'd made sure of that. My phone buzzed with a text from Patricia. Derek Walsh's wife deserves to know too, don't you think? I typed back, send her everything. She has a right to the truth, because tomorrow morning, Derek Walsh would wake up to discover that his wife had received an anonymous email containing every photo, every video, every damning detail of his affair with his subordinate. His 15-year marriage would end. His relationship with his children would be damaged forever. His reputation in the industry would be destroyed. Perfect symmetry. Perfect justice. I heard Nicole's car start 20 minutes later, heard her drive away into the night she'd created for herself. I didn't look out the window. I didn't feel guilty. I felt nothing but the cold satisfaction of a perfectly executed plan. The next morning, I forwarded the evidence to Derek's wife Laura through an untraceable email account. She deserved to know that her husband was a cheating bastard, just like I deserved to know about Nicole. Justice wasn't just about my marriage. It was about all the marriages these people destroyed with their selfish, reckless choices. 8 months after that Wednesday night, I sit in my completely redecorated townhouse, furniture replaced, walls repainted, every trace of Nicole systematically erased, reviewing the final divorce decree that arrived in yesterday's mail, official, legal, irreversible. The judge awarded me the house, my savings, my retirement accounts, everything I'd worked for and protected. Nicole received a settlement of exactly $500, the bare minimum required by state law to avoid claims of punitive damages. She signed without contesting, her lawyer advising her that fighting with the evidence against her would only result in further humiliation and legal fees she couldn't afford. I heard through mutual acquaintances about Nicole's life after that night, and the updates fill me with dark satisfaction. Fired from Tech Vision the morning after being served, escorted from the building by security with a cardboard box of her desk belongings. No severance package, no recommendation letter, no future in marketing management, not with a termination for ethics violations on her permanent record. She moved in with her sister temporarily, sleeping on a pull-out couch and borrowing money for basic expenses, then finally found a studio apartment on the South Side, the kind of place with thin walls, broken air conditioning, and neighbors who play music too loud at all hours. The ambitious marketing director who was gunning for senior director status now works part-time at a customer service call center, answering complaint calls for $15 an hour. Her corporate wardrobe hangs unused in a closet barely big enough for her bed. She tried reaching out to me once, 3 months after the divorce finalized. A long, desperate email about regret, about mistakes, about how she'd throw away everything to get me back, how Derek had meant nothing, how she'd been confused and stupid and sorry. I read the first paragraph, deleted the rest, and blocked her email address permanently. Derek Walsh fared even worse, which brings me immense satisfaction on cold nights when I remember their laughter in that hotel room. Fired the same day as Nicole. His wife Laura received my anonymous email with every photo, every video, every timestamp that documented her husband's betrayal. She filed for divorce immediately, armed with evidence so overwhelming that Derek's lawyers couldn't mount any defense. Laura got full custody of Emma and Jake. The house, the savings accounts, his retirement, everything. Derek moved into a one-bedroom apartment across town and gets supervised visitation with his children every other weekend. Court-mandated supervision because his own kids don't trust him anymore. Word spread through their industry about the married VP who got caught sleeping with his subordinate during company business trips. Derek's reputation became toxic. He couldn't find another executive position anywhere. Too much liability, too much scandal, too much risk for any company wanting to avoid workplace harassment lawsuits. Last I heard through LinkedIn, Derek was working in used car sales in Phoenix, Arizona. Broke, alone, and forgotten by the industry that once valued his expertise. Perfect justice for a man who destroyed his family for a few months of hotel room intimacy with my wife. As for me, I've thrived in ways I never expected. I kept the townhouse but made it completely mine. New furniture that reflects my taste, not compromise. New artwork that I chose without consultation. A home office where I can work in peace without wondering where my spouse really is. I got promoted to senior financial analyst at McKinsey & Associates, corner office. Substantial raise, recognition for the focus and dedication I'd poured into work during the divorce proceedings. My colleagues praised my professionalism during personal difficulties, not knowing that destroying my cheating wife's life had actually improved my concentration. I'm dating someone new, Rachel, a third-grade teacher I met through Cole and his wife at a summer barbecue. She's kind, genuine, uncomplicated by corporate ambitions or hidden agendas. We've been together 4 months now, taking it slow, building something real on honest foundations. Rachel asked about my past once, early in our relationship. I told her the simple truth. I was married. She cheated. I handled it and moved on. I'm glad you found your way out of that situation. You deserve someone who appreciates what you bring to a relationship, Rachel replied, squeezing my hand. No drama, no complications, just honest affection from someone who understands that trust, once broken, can never be fully repaired. This Saturday morning, I sit in my quiet living room with coffee and the newspaper, sunlight streaming through windows that overlook a neighborhood where I belong, where I've built something lasting and secure. The financial markets are performing well. My investment portfolio has recovered from the divorce expenses. My life is peaceful, organized, and entirely under my control. I raise my coffee mug in a solitary toast to the empty room. To new beginnings, I say aloud, and for the first time in over a year, Alex Cooper feels completely at peace with the world because I didn't just survive Nicole's betrayal. I didn't just recover from her deception. I won. I destroyed the woman who tried to destroy me, and I rebuilt my life stronger than it was before. Every choice she made in that Chicago hotel room led inevitably to this moment, me thriving in the home I earned, while she struggles in a life she chose through her own selfish actions. The perfect revenge isn't violence or dramatic confrontation. The perfect revenge is living well while your enemies suffer the consequences of their own choices, knowing they destroyed themselves and you simply documented the process. Nicole thought she was smart enough to have it all, the stable husband, the exciting affair, the corporate advancement, the secure future. She gambled everything on her ability to deceive and manipulate. She lost everything because she underestimated the man she betrayed, and I'm never making that mistake again. They say revenge is a dish best served cold, but mine came with a side of crawling insects and burning skin. My name is Cole Bennett, and I'm 32 years old. Every morning at 5:30, I roll out of bed, lace up my work boots, and head to whatever construction site needs an electrician. 50-hour weeks are normal for me, sometimes 60. I come home with dirt caked under my fingernails, sawdust in my hair, and the satisfied ache of honest work in my bones. I've never complained about it. Not once. Because everything I touch, everything I build, becomes part of something bigger. A foundation, a life, a future. The 3-bedroom house I'm sitting in right now, I bought it before Stephanie and I got married. Saved for 3 years to make that down payment, working double shifts and skipping vacations. The truck in the driveway? Paid off last year, every monthly payment made on time. The savings account that lets me sleep easy at night? Built dollar by dollar, overtime shift by overtime shift. I met Stephanie 5 years ago at my buddy Jake's barbecue. She was laughing at something someone said, head thrown back, blonde hair catching the summer sunlight like spun gold. Beautiful doesn't even begin to cover it. When she smiled at me across that crowded backyard, everything else just disappeared. She was fun back then. Spontaneous, the kind of woman who'd suggest midnight drives to the beach or surprise picnics in the park. We moved fast, maybe too fast. 6 months of dating, a year of living together, then marriage. I believed in building something permanent. I thought she did too. For the first couple years, things were good. Great, even. Stephanie worked retail at a boutique downtown, and between my union wages and her income, we were comfortable. More than comfortable. She'd come home with stories about difficult customers, and I'd tell her about the job site drama. We'd cook dinner together, watch movies, plan for the future. Then, 2 years into our marriage, she quit. "I want to focus on us," she said, sitting at our kitchen table with that smile that used to make my heart skip. "Make our house a home. You make good money, babe. We don't need 2 incomes." I didn't argue. Hell, I was proud that I could provide for both of us. That's what a man does, right? Takes care of his family. And Stephanie did make our house beautiful. She decorated with an eye for detail I never had, turned our spare bedroom into a guest room that looked like something from a magazine. She cooked occasionally. Elaborate meals she'd photograph for Instagram with captions about being blessed and kawifey. From the outside, we looked perfect. The working man and his devoted wife. The American dream in a 3-bedroom package. But lately, something's been eating at me. Small things. Tiny cracks in the perfect picture. Stephanie's always on her phone now. Not just scrolling, typing furiously, then snapping it shut when I walk into the room. When I ask who she's texting, she says without looking up, "Just the girls," or "nobody important." She's vague about her days, too. I'll ask what she did while I was at work, and she'll give me these scattered answers. "Oh, cleaned a little, watched some TV, ran errands," she'll respond with a shrug. But the house isn't that clean anymore. The guest bedroom she used to keep immaculate is cluttered. Dishes sit in the sink for days, and the intimacy has become a minefield. I try to initiate, and she's always tired, always has a headache, always has some excuse ready like she's been rehearsing it. "You work too much, babe," she'll say, turning away from me in bed. "You're always stressed. Maybe if you didn't take so much overtime." Then she changes the subject. Every time. I tell myself I'm being paranoid. Work stress can mess with your head. Marriage has its ups and downs, everyone knows that. But something doesn't sit right. It's like trying to troubleshoot an electrical problem when you can see the symptoms but can't find the source. This Saturday morning in late spring started like any other. I made coffee, checked the weather, planned to tackle some yard work. Then Stephanie bounced downstairs in a sundress I'd never seen before, keys already in her hand. "Meeting the girls for brunch and shopping," she announced, kissing my forehead like I was her brother. "Don't wait up. You know how we get when we're together." She was out the door by 10 a.m., leaving me alone in the house I built. Wondering why it feels emptier every time she leaves. I walked into that guest bedroom thinking I'd just tidy up. I walked out knowing my marriage was a lie. The guest bedroom looked like a bomb had gone off. Clothes draped over the chair, the bed unmade with sheets twisted and hanging off one corner, clutter scattered across the nightstand. When did Stephanie stop caring about this room? It used to be her pride and joy, the showpiece she'd bring visitors to see. I grabbed a trash bag from under the kitchen sink and started cleaning. Old habit from growing up in a house where you earned your keep by pitching in. Besides, I needed something to do with my hands, something to quiet the restless feeling that had been gnawing at me for weeks. I picked up the clothes first. A blouse I'd never seen, some lacy thing that definitely wasn't Stephanie's usual style. Then I straightened the bed, tucked the sheets back in place, fluffed the pillows. The room looked better already, more like the sanctuary it used to be. That's when I reached for the small trash bin beside the nightstand. I tilted it toward the garbage bag, and that's when I saw it, a used condom, partially hidden under crumpled tissues, but unmistakable. The latex caught the morning light streaming through the window, and my world tilted on its axis. Time stopped. I stared at that piece of latex like it was some alien artifact. My brain refused to process what my eyes were telling me. We don't use condoms. We haven't used condoms in years. Stephanie's been on birth control since before we got married. We talked about kids someday after we got more established. There was no reason for condoms in our house. No reason except the one that was staring me in the face. My hands started shaking. The trash bag fell from my grip, hitting the floor with a soft thud that sounded like thunder in the sudden silence. I set the bin down carefully, like it might explode, and opened the nightstand drawer with trembling fingers. Inside, a box of Trojans, half empty. Beside it, a bottle of massage oil I'd never seen before, some expensive brand with a label I couldn't pronounce, and a price tag that probably cost more than I spent on groceries in a week. The room started spinning. I sat down hard on the edge of the bed, head in my hands, trying to breathe. But every breath felt like drowning. Every heartbeat sounded like a sledgehammer against my ribs. 3 years. 3 years since she quit her job, and I'd been supporting us both. 5 years of marriage, of working myself to exhaustion, paying every bill, trusting her completely. 5 years of believing in us, in our future, in the life we were building together. And she brought another man into my house, into my guest bedroom. Into the bed I'd helped her pick out. On sheets I'd helped her wash. While I was out busting my ass to keep a roof over our heads, she was here. Playing house with someone else? The rage hit me like a freight train. Hot, blinding, primal. I wanted to tear that room apart with my bare hands. I wanted to call her right now and scream until my throat was raw. I wanted to drive to wherever she was and confront her in front of all her friends. Let them see what their perfect little Stephanie really was. But then, through the red haze, a colder thought emerged. If I blow up now, I lose everything. She'll deny it. She'll cry. She'll turn this around on me somehow. Make me the bad guy for snooping, for not trusting her, for working too much. I've seen it happen to other guys. They find out their wife is cheating, go nuclear, and end up losing their house, their kids, half their savings. They get emotional, make mistakes, and the cheating spouse walks away with everything. I need proof, real proof, and I need to protect what I've built. I stood up, wiped my face, and forced myself to think clearly. I'm an electrician. I solve problems step by step. I plan, I execute. I don't make mistakes. First, I took photos. The condom, the box, the massage oil, the entire room from multiple angles. My phone camera captured everything in sharp detail, evidence that couldn't be denied or explained away. Then I carefully put everything back exactly as I found it. Every tissue, every piece of clothing, even the way the sheets were twisted. If she was playing games, I'd play them better. I left the house, got in my truck, and started making a list. I wasn't going to just catch them. I was going to make damn sure they remembered it forever. I drove across town to a hardware store I'd never been to before. One of those big box places where nobody knows your name and the teenage cashiers don't give a damn what you're buying. The kind of place where a man can purchase what he needs without questions. 4 wireless security cameras with motion detection and smartphone streaming. Top-of-the-line equipment, the kind contractors use for job site security. Professional grade. When the clerk asked if I needed help, I replied, setting up home security. You know how it is these days. Can't be too careful. He nodded sympathetically, scanned the barcode, and handed me the receipt. Probably figured I was just another paranoid homeowner. If only he knew. Next stop, a pet store in a strip mall 20 minutes away. I browsed the reptile section like I had all the time in the world, checking out the terrariums and heat lamps, asking casual questions about iguana care before finding what I really needed. 3 containers of live feeder insects, crickets, cockroaches, mealworms. The kind of creepy crawlies that make people lose their minds. When the young employee offered to help me find something, I told her, for my bearded dragon. Little guy's got a big appetite, and I like to keep a good supply on hand. She smiled, rang me up, and wished me a good day with my pet. Sweet kid, probably would have been horrified to know what I really had planned. Final stop. A novelty shop wedged between a nail salon and a tax office. The kind of place that sells whoopee cushions, fake dog poop, and other juvenile pranks left over from an era when practical jokes were innocent fun. I found what I was looking for in the back corner, packets of itching powder. The old-school kind that burns and irritates but doesn't cause permanent damage. 4 packets should be more than enough. The kid behind the counter was too busy scrolling through his phone to even look up. Just scanned the items, took my cash, and went back to whatever was so fascinating on his screen. By the time I got home, it was 1:30. Stephanie had texted that she'd be out until 4, plenty of time to complete my project. I had 2.5 hours to turn my house into a trap. I worked like I was on a job site, efficient, methodical, professional. The cameras went up first. Years of electrical work had taught me how to hide wiring, how to make installations look like they belonged. One camera went into the guest bedroom, angled at the bed, hidden inside a fake smoke detector I mounted on the ceiling. Another in the hallway, disguised as a standard electrical outlet, the kind of thing people see every day without really noticing. The third camera went at the front door, tucked inside a decorative picture frame Stephanie had hung there months ago. Perfect angle to catch anyone coming or going. The last one went in the living room, concealed behind some books on the shelf where it could monitor the main gathering area. I synced them all to a burner phone app, set motion alerts for each camera, tested the feeds multiple times. The image quality was crystal clear, the angles perfect. The system was clean, professional, completely undetectable unless you knew exactly what to look for. Even then, you'd have to be looking hard. Then I walked back to the guest bedroom for the real work. My hands were steady now. No more shaking, no more rage, just cold, calculating precision. The kind of focus I brought to complex electrical jobs where one mistake could kill you. I pulled back the bed sheets and loosened the fitted sheet at the foot of the bed. Carefully, methodically, I positioned the open containers of insects underneath the mattress, placing them so any significant movement would knock them over and spill their contents across the bed. The cockroaches were already starting to explore their new environment. Perfect. Next, I opened each condom packet in the box with surgical precision, shaking itching powder inside before resealing them so perfectly you'd never know they'd been tampered with. I sprinkled more powder on the pillows, rubbed it into the sheets where naked skin would make contact, dusted it across the areas of the mattress most likely to see action. The beauty of itching powder is that it's activated by moisture, sweat, saliva, other bodily fluids. The more passionate things got, the worse the reaction would be. I stepped back and surveyed my work. Everything looked completely normal, perfect, innocent, ready. I cleaned up every trace of my presence, vacuumed the hallway where I'd drilled holes for the cameras, wiped down surfaces with bleach, took all the packaging and leftover supplies with me in a garbage bag. When Stephanie came home at 4:15, I was on the couch watching SportsCenter with a beer in my hand, looking like I'd been there all day. "Hey, babe! How was your day?" she asked, bending down to kiss my forehead. Her lips felt cold against my skin. "Quiet," I replied, not taking my eyes off the TV. "Just relaxed around the house. Fixed that loose outlet in the hallway. How was brunch?" She launched into some elaborate story about mimosas and drama between her friends. Something about someone's ex showing up unexpected. I nodded in the right places, made appropriate sounds, and watched her lie to my face with the same bright smile she'd been giving me for 5 years. That night, I set my alarm for 6 a.m. Monday morning couldn't come fast enough. I didn't have to wait long. Monday morning, 10:47 a.m., my phone lit up. Motion detected. I was 40 feet up on a scissor lift, running electrical conduit through the ceiling of a new office building, when my phone buzzed against my leg. The notification made my heart slam against my ribs like a trapped bird. Motion detected, front door camera. The moment I'd been waiting for, the moment I'd been dreading, had finally arrived. I climbed down from the lift, my movements deliberate and controlled despite the adrenaline coursing through my veins. When my crew partner Rodriguez asked what was up, I told him, "Need to take an important call. Family stuff," he nodded without question. Good workers earn that kind of trust, and I'd been reliable for years. I walked to the far corner of the job site, behind a stack of drywall where I couldn't be seen or heard. My hands shook as I opened the app and switched to live view. There she was, Stephanie walking through my front door, our front door, like she owned the place. Which legally she still did. Behind her followed a man I'd never seen before, and the sight of him hit me like a physical blow. Early 30s, maybe a year or two younger than me. Fit in that gym membership way, not the earned through labor way. Business casual clothes, pressed khakis and a button-down shirt that probably cost more than I made in a day. Clean hands, soft hands. He moved with confidence, looked around my living room with familiarity, like he'd been there before. Like he belonged there. I watched them move through my space with an intimacy that made my chest tight. Stephanie poured wine, the good Cabernet from the top shelf that we saved for anniversaries and special occasions. They sat on my couch, the leather sectional I'd saved up 6 months to buy, and talked like old lovers catching up. She fed him a strawberry from a bowl I'd washed that morning before work. He whispered something in her ear that made her throw her head back and laugh, that same musical laugh that had made me fall in love with her 5 years ago at Jake's. Barbecue. My jaw clenched so hard I thought my teeth might crack. They were comfortable together. Too comfortable. This wasn't some new fling or moment of weakness. This was a relationship, a routine. How long had this been going on? Months? The entire 3 years since she quit her job? Then Stephanie stood, took his hand with the wedding ring I'd placed there, and led him upstairs. The guest bedroom camera activated and my world went silent except for the sound of my own breathing. I forced myself to keep watching. This wasn't about my feelings anymore. This was evidence. This was documentation. This was how I was going to win. They kissed against the door, hungry, desperate, like teenagers who couldn't wait another second. She helped him out of his shirt while he worked at the buttons of her blouse. The blouse I'd complimented her on just last week. The one she'd said was just something old. They collapsed onto the bed I'd helped her pick out, onto sheets I'd helped her wash just days ago. Kyle, she moaned when his mouth found her neck. Kyle. Even his name sounded smug and entitled. They moved together with practiced familiarity. This wasn't passion, it was routine. They'd done this before, many times. Every position, every touch, every sound was choreographed by repetition. I watched my wife betray our marriage in real time, and I felt something die inside me. Not break, die. The part of me that had believed in us, in her, in the future we'd planned together. But I also felt something else growing in its place. Cold satisfaction, because soon, very soon, this would all be over. Then it started. Kyle flinched first, swatting at his leg. Ow, something bit me, he muttered. Stephanie scratched her arm absently, still lost in the moment. Me too, what the hell was that? She replied, confused. Kyle sat up, looked around, confused. There's something on this bed, he started to say. That's when Stephanie screamed. Cockroaches poured out from under the sheets like water from a broken dam. Dozens of them, maybe hundreds, scurrying in every direction. Crickets hopped across the pillows, their legs scratching against the fabric. Mealworms writhed near their feet, brown and segmented and absolutely everywhere. They leaped off the bed naked, frantic, slapping at their skin as insects crawled across their bodies. But the itching powder was already doing its work, soaking into their sweat, burning their skin, spreading with every panicked movement. Oh my God. Oh my God, it won't stop! Stephanie wailed, clawing at her arms, her legs, her back. Red welts were already forming where her nails broke skin, and the scratching only made it worse. Kyle's eyes went wild with panic and pain. What the hell is happening? What the hell is this place? He screamed. They scrambled for their clothes, still scratching, still screaming, stumbling around the room like people on fire. But every piece of fabric they touched just spread the powder further. Kyle pulled on his shirt and immediately started tearing at his chest. Stephanie tried to put on her blouse and threw it across the room, sobbing hysterically. It burns! It burns! Make it stop! She wailed, scratching so hard she was drawing blood. They gave up on getting dressed and ran, naked, scratching, crying, down the hallway, out the front door, into Kyle's BMW sedan. I watched them through multiple camera angles as they fled my house like it was haunted. Kyle's car peeled out of my driveway, tires squealing against asphalt, carrying them away half-dressed and clawing at themselves like animals. I closed the app, walked back to Rodriguez and looked him straight in the eye. Family emergency, I said, my voice steady as granite. I have to go. He nodded without question. Good workers earn that kind of trust. I drove to the nearest hospital emergency room. It wasn't hard to find them. Stephanie saw me walk through those doors, and for the first time in 5 years, I saw real fear in her eyes. They were huddled in the waiting room like refugees from a disaster. Stephanie and Kyle covered in angry red welts, still scratching at themselves with the desperate intensity of addicts needing a fix. They'd managed to put on clothes, but Kyle's shirt was on inside out and Stephanie's hair looked like she'd been electrocuted. The moment Stephanie saw me walk through those automatic doors, every drop of color drained from her face. Her mouth fell open, and she made a small sound like a wounded animal. "Cole?" she whispered, her voice barely audible. How did you—" "I know everything, Steph," I said, my voice cutting through the sterile hospital air like a blade. Kyle struggled to his feet, trying to look tough despite the fact that he was covered in insect bites and scratching his armpit like a flea-bitten dog. "Who the hell are you?" he demanded. I looked him straight in the eye, letting the silence stretch until it became uncomfortable. Then I smiled, the kind of smile that doesn't reach the eyes. "I'm her husband," I answered calmly. The words hit Kyle like a physical blow. He actually staggered backward, his face going pale beneath the angry red welts. "Husband? She said she was divorced," he sputtered. I turned to Stephanie, whose eyes were wide with panic. "Did you now? That's interesting because last I checked, we're still very much married, though that's about to change," I replied. I pulled a manila envelope from my jacket, thick, official-looking, sealed with my lawyer's stamp. The weight of it felt like justice in my hands. "Divorce papers," I announced loud enough for the other people in the waiting room to hear. "Filed with the court this morning. I have video evidence of everything. You, him, my guest bedroom, the whole disgusting show." Stephanie's hands shook violently as she took the envelope. Several people in the waiting room were openly staring now, and I could see the shame creeping up her neck like a rash. "Cole, please!" she begged, her voice cracking. "We can talk about this. We can work it out." It was a mistake. "No," I said, the word coming out like ice cracking. "You're going to sign those papers. You're not going to contest a single thing. You're not going to ask for alimony or half my house or anything else. Because if you do, I release the video." I let that sink in for a moment, watching her face crumble as the reality hit her. "Your family, your friends, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, everyone gets to see what you really are," I continued. "Your mom, your dad, your sister, everyone at your old job, everyone you went to high school with, they all get to watch you f***ing another man in the bed I paid for. Your choice." Her face crumpled completely. She knew she was beaten. Knew I had her dead to rights with nowhere to run and no way out. I turned to Kyle, who was backing away like I was radioactive. "And you," I said. He held up his hands, still scratching at his neck. "Man, look, I didn't know she was married. She told me she was divorced." "I never would have," he stammered. My fist connected with his jaw before he could finish the lie. 32 years of construction work, of swinging hammers and carrying materials, went into that punch. Clean, brutal, satisfying. Kyle crashed into a row of plastic chairs, blood streaming from his mouth, groaning like a wounded animal. Several people gasped. A security guard started moving in our direction. I stepped back, raised my hands peacefully. "I'm leaving," I said calmly to the approaching guard. "He can press charges if he wants. I'll be at my lawyer's office." The guard looked between me and Kyle, who was still on the floor holding his jaw. "Sir, I need you to—" he began. "I'm going," I repeated. No more trouble. I walked out of that hospital with my head high, leaving them both broken and bleeding in more ways than one. Kyle didn't press charges. Turns out he had a wife of his own back home, a detail Stephanie had conveniently forgotten to mention. Within 48 hours, he'd transferred to his company's Seattle office and disappeared from both our lives forever. Stephanie signed the papers 3 days later. Didn't fight a single term. Couldn't. My lawyer had made it crystal clear what would happen if she contested anything. The video would go public, tagged with her full name and workplace, viewable by anyone with an internet connection. She sat in that lawyer's office looking like a broken doll, signing away 5 years of marriage with a pen that shook in her hand. She tried to speak once, tried to explain or apologize or something, but I just stared at her until she looked away. The divorce was finalized in 6 weeks. Record time. I kept the house, the truck, my savings, my pension, everything I'd built with my own hands and sweat. Stephanie got her clothes, her car, and the legal minimum the state required, $1,000. $1,000 for 5 years of marriage. for the house she'd lived in, the food she'd eaten, the life she'd destroyed. She moved into a studio apartment above a Chinese restaurant on the wrong side of town. The kind of place where the walls are thin and the smell of grease never goes away. She took a job stocking shelves at a grocery store for $11 an hour, wearing a name tag and a forced smile while scanning items for people who used to be her social equals. Her friends stopped calling. Turns out nobody wants to associate with a known cheater, especially when everyone knows the sordid details. Her family barely spoke to her after I made sure they knew exactly why their marriage had ended. Her social media went dark. I changed the locks the day the papers were signed, scrubbed the guest bedroom from ceiling to floor with bleach and determination, threw out the mattress, the sheets, everything they'd touched, bought new furniture, made the room mine again. 6 months later, I'm sitting on my back porch watching the sunset over the property I fought to keep. And for the first time in a long time, I'm smiling. 6 months after the divorce was finalized, I'm sitting on my back porch with a cold beer, watching the sun set over the property I fought to keep. The house feels like mine again, quiet, clean, peaceful in a way it hasn't been for years. The guest bedroom is now my home office, equipped with a desk I built myself and shelves lined with electrical manuals and business plans. I've started a side business doing residential electrical work. Word travels fast in the trades, and apparently my reputation for reliability and quality work has spread. I'm booked solid through the end of the year, making more money than I ever did just working construction. Building something new from the ashes of something old. I'm dating someone too, Emma. I met her through a buddy at work. She's a project manager for a construction company downtown. Hardworking, honest, independent. The kind of woman who splits the check on dates and doesn't need a man to take care of her, but chooses to be with one anyway because she wants to, not because she has to. You seem different from other guys I've dated, she said to me last week. Sitting in this same spot, her hand warm in mine. More grounded, like you know who you are. I smiled, feeling lighter than I had in years. I do. Took me a while to get here, but I do, I replied. She kissed my cheek, and it felt real in a way I'd forgotten was possible. Good. I like a man who's been through something and came out stronger, she said softly. She doesn't know about Stephanie yet. About the cameras or the insects or the itching powder. Maybe I'll tell her someday when we're ready for that level of honesty. Maybe I won't. It doesn't matter anymore. I protected what I built. I walked away on my own terms. Sometimes, that's the best revenge there is. Across town, Stephanie Bennett, she kept my name, though I can't imagine why, clocks out of her evening shift at the grocery store. 8 hours on her feet, scanning barcodes and bagging groceries, dealing with customers who treat her like she's invisible. Her supervisor is 22 years old and calls her Steph like they're old friends instead of boss and employee. Her back aches from standing. Her feet hurt from cheap shoes she can't afford to replace. Her hands are dry and cracked from handling cardboard and cleaning supplies. She drives her beat-up Honda Civic, the one with the broken taillight and permanently illuminated check engine light, to her studio apartment. 400 square feet of stained carpet and peeling wallpaper that smells perpetually of the Chinese restaurant below. She heats up a frozen dinner in a microwave that only works half the time. Sits alone in front of a television she bought at a pawn shop. Sometimes, late at night when the loneliness becomes unbearable, she scrolls through old photos on her phone. The house with its perfect guest bedroom. The vacations we took when money wasn't tight. The life she destroyed for a few hours of excitement with a man who disappeared the moment things got complicated. She thinks about me sometimes. Wonders if I'm happy. Hopes I'm not, then hates herself for hoping that. She thinks about Kyle, too, the man who promised her excitement and passion and disappeared faster than smoke when reality came calling. She found out later that he'd been married the whole time, had kids, had a life he was hiding just like she was hiding hers. Late at night, when the apartment is quiet except for the sounds of the city settling into sleep, she scratches her arms absently. The doctors said the reaction from whatever happened that day should have been gone months ago, but sometimes the itching comes back anyway. Phantom sensations, muscle memory, guilt made physical. She puts her phone down, closes her eyes, and tries not to think about the man who built everything for her and the choice she made that cost her everything. Some itches just never go away. I raise my beer toward the sunset. Toward the future, I'm building one honest day at a time. Emma squeezes my hand and smiles, and I know that whatever comes next, I'll face it as a man who knows his own worth. The past is buried. But justice? Justice has a way of lasting forever.